Do you need to tag notes anymore? Or is it useful? Why spend time tagging if you have search? These questions come from an organize for findability approach. But I don't see tags this way. I see them as a means to organize for connection. If you are looking for an intentional tagging system that will help you curate collections and cultivate connections, then this video is for you. Today we're going to cover why tagging for connection is a better approach, and then we're going to dive into the two types of tags that I use, and then finally I'm going to show you a real live example of how I would actually tag a note. Now before we hop in, I did want to give you a free gift for hanging out with me today in this video. This is my free guide on how to take book notes and get those insights and ideas and the things that you love and that resonate with you into your personal knowledge management system. But by the end of the guide, you'll have a simple system for highlighting your books, a mindful approach for adding content to your PKM, a process for creating building blocks of knowledge, just like Legos, right? For the future and for the present as well. And then finally, a simple tip for making more connections inside of your second brain. All of this is in my free guide. If you want to check out the guide, the link is in the description below. Now, tags are incredibly useful because they enable us to put one note in multiple places. And this is fantastic. But the more that I've grown in my PKM journey, the more I've come to realize that there is a greater need for connection over organization. The more that you can find connections inside of your PKM, the more fresh ideas will emerge. Organized by definition is to arrange into a structured whole, right? To order. So you organize so that you can easily find something. For example, you organize your pantry so you can find food that you're looking for. You organize your fridge. You organize your closet so that you can find clothes easily. But as we all know, with search today on most apps, it's incredibly powerful and you can find something easily, right? It's no longer needed to organize. It's no longer needed to spend so much time organizing your notes. It's more effective to find the connections between the notes that you have in your PKM rather than try to find out where does this fit nice and neat? What folder does it fit nice and neat in? So instead of asking where do I file this, where do I put this note, the question we want to ask is, in what context do I want to bump into this note again? Or what does this note connect to? What area of my life does it connect to? What thought theme does it connect to? What interest does it connect to? I like to think of tags as curating collections for your idea museum, right? Your idea museum is the most interesting and unique place because it holds and protects your ideas, thoughts, and interests. There's nothing else like it. A museum will often have collections of ideas in one spot, right? So you can see all of them at once. This is what tags do in the world of thoughts and ideas. They create little tiny rooms of similar pieces of content, of similar pieces of ideas, and they allow you to see them all at once. Now, when you walk into your idea museum, let's pretend this is an idea museum full of different rooms of collections, okay? When you walk through the front door, you can peruse the museum. You can choose maybe to only see notes on creativity, right? So I have these notes right here, this room, this collection of all these notes that are on a specific topic or a specific topic that I'm interested in this case, creativity. Or maybe it's parenting or something, or family or wisdom that you want to see your notes on. Memorable moments or meaningful moments. Seeing your notes in different contexts allows you to see them bumping up against each other in different ways, which allows you to see patterns and connections, right? You never really notice how green the trees are until the dark clouds from the storm are right behind it and they become the background, which makes the green pop. It's the same with our ideas. Different contexts pull out various aspects of the notes that we have collected. My tagging system involves two types of notes. We have the note type, and then we have the collection. Okay. The note type is another way to see notes from all collections right here, but classified by its type. The note type for me includes literature notes. These are passages from books, or just one-liners from books, or sentences, thoughts while I'm reading. Then I have my Bible notes. These are thoughts and insights while reading the Bible. Sparks. These are just random ideas and thoughts. You can think of this if you're in the Zettelkasten world. This is like fleeting notes right here, the sparks. Quotes. These are pretty self-explanatory. Quotes. Meaningful moments. These are just small little moments of laughter and joy and intrigue. And sometimes I'll use these anecdotes to help communicate a thought that I have. We all know that story is like one of the best communication methods. Well, it is the best communication method. So I like to collect little tiny moments and stories that I can share along with ideas that I have. And then we have the collection, right? This could be a values that you have, a life area, interest, or a thought theme. For me, this includes things like a life of learning, a life of with. I have more of like slogans for the values for me. Like, I value learning, but sometimes I don't want to just put, learning. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. So it's just a life of learning, or a life of with, which for me is relationships. Wisdom, a life well lived, which is stewardship for me. How well am I managing my life in all areas? These are all values that I have. Family, creativity, writing, thinking, and sharing ideas. These are some of the collections, okay, that I have. When I'm jotting down ideas, I'm thinking, where do I want to bump into this note again? Do I want to bump into it in a life of learning, a life of with, creativity, writing, thinking, and sharing ideas? Now let's go back to my museum example here. You'll notice that some of them, they have the same color, right? And then some of them have these multicolored notes. And the reason that I did that is because I want to show you that, and we'll get into the actual notes app to show you as well, but I wanted to show you that with a collection, you're seeing a lot of the notes that are related to each other, right? All of these are related in some way, and so they kind of, the same color represents that. Whereas meaningful moments, these are a type of note for me, but they can live in several different collections. So when I visit the meaningful moments collection, this type of note right here, I'm not only looking at meaningful moments and relationships, or family, or creativity. I'm looking at it for all of these collections. And so I have a whole new filter that I can view these notes, where I could view them inside of a life of with or family, but I can also view them this way as well. Different views. Same thing. All these here that have the gray background and the multicolored, these are all the types of notes, or examples of types of notes, where I have access to like all these quotes, and I can see a quote from creativity here and a quote from parenting. Obviously, these are just examples. They're completely blank and there's no notes inside of them. It's just to use for visual reference. But you can imagine, right, that there are different collections all in the same spot, where I can just kind of walk around as if I'm looking at different paintings from different authors and are from different artists, and be able to kind of see where are the connections here. Maybe there's a theme, a pattern in my thoughts of, I keep collecting these types of quotes in different areas of my life, so I need to pay attention to that. Okay, now let's take a look at what this looks like inside of my notes app. The app that we're looking at right here is Bear, and it Bear, and it is a iOS and the Apple ecosystem. But there are tons of ways. This is not the only app that you can use. Any app that has tagging, you can use. This is just to show you an example of what this looks like actually in a notes app. Okay. So on the left-hand side, I have this note type and I have collection. Now under note type, if I click this arrow here, these are all the types that I mentioned before, or most of them. Yeah, there's different types of notes that I can, within an instant, be transported into, like I said, this is a collection right here. A collection, even though I call these collections, this is still a collection of notes. The literature notes that I have in different areas of my life, okay? This is something I just wrote down recently. Income doesn't make you wealthy. How you handle it does. Right? And here's the source, but here at the bottom, I have the two collections that it's connected with. And then the note type is a literature note because it came from me listening or reading through an article. And then I have collections. A collection here. You can see I have different types of notes in this A Life of Learning collection. I have this quote. I know that it's a quote because it starts with quotation marks. I like to start that just as a visual indicator that this is a quote. These are all quotes, and they're not all quotes. This is a quote, and it has to do with creativity, a life of learning, and a life with relationships. Okay, I can see this note in all of those rooms and in the museum. This is not a quote. This is a literature note based on this quote, right? Now I'm not gonna get into bidirectional linking, but that's a whole nother thing. This is a random thought, right? A spark for me, but it's tied to a life of learning and a life well lived. So you can see inside a life of learning, I have different types, different of these note types inside of this room here. Hopefully this is starting to make sense to you of how this can be beneficial when you can see these notes in different contexts, and within an instant be brought to see the same note in different contexts, which is just really cool. All right, now let me show you an example. We have this quote here that I want to jot down. Friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, "What? You too? I thought that no one but myself." This is a C.S. Lewis quote, and I love it. Now, I would want to just simply add a new note, and I can paste this or type it, however I want to do that, as the title of the note. All right? And then I want to start adding tags. And for me, the first thing that I usually add is the type of note. So in this case, it is a quote. So if I start typing quote, bear for me will bring up that specific quote. That specific tag. And then I can start asking myself and start considering, okay, in what context do I want to see this quote again? In what context do I want to see these words pop out at me, right? And so for me, it's definitely a life of with right here, and family. So I can start there, and I can always come back and add more tags if I want to, but I'll stop right there, and hopefully you can see that this is super easy. However, whatever app that you use, you're simply just adding the tags, but the system itself is what's powerful on the note type, so you can easily get to those quotes or whatever it is instantly, and you can see this in that context or the different collections that I have. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you and that you have some sparks and ideas on how you can best use your tags so that you can curate collections and cultivate more connections. And I hope to see you again in the next video.